When you speak to a woman, the words themselves matter far less than the way you deliver them. You could be saying something simple, even ordinary, but if it's wrapped in certainty, it becomes magnetic. Confidence in your voice, in your tone, and in your body language tells her something about you without you having to explain it. It says you know who you are, you're sure of yourself, and you're not afraid to take up space in the world. On the other hand, hesitation, filler words, and an unsure tone signal the opposite. They say you're seeking approval before you've even finished your sentence. A woman can sense doubt instantly. It's not always about the exact choice of words, it's about the micro signals you send when you speak. Are you making eye contact or are your eyes darting around looking for her reaction? Is your voice steady or do you keep breaking it with nervous laughter? Are your statements clear and direct or are they filled with maybe and I guess? All these things communicate either certainty or uncertainty, and that makes all the difference in attraction. When you speak with certainty, you remove the invisible question mark at the end of your sentences. You're not asking for her to validate your words, you're owning them. There's no, do you think that's okay? Or if that's all right with you. You simply say what you believe, what you feel, and what you intend to do, and then you leave it at that. That confidence is compelling because it reflects leadership, and leadership is deeply attractive. Certainty doesn't mean arrogance. It's not about talking over her, dismissing her views, or acting like you know everything. True certainty is quiet strength. It's being so rooted in your values and your truth that you don't feel that you can stand firm when things really get tough. Your tone becomes a mirror of your inner state, and if that tone is calm, grounded, and unwavering, she'll naturally feel drawn to it. One of the easiest ways to practice certainty is to stop qualifying everything you say. Cut the disclaimers. If you want to suggest something, don't say, maybe we could if you want to. Instead, say, let's go here, you'll love it. If you want to express your feelings, don't say, I don't know if this makes sense, but just say, this is how I feel. The moment you stop seeking verbal permission to exist, you step into a place where your words carry weight. Attraction is not about having the perfect line, it's about the man behind the line. If your voice shakes with uncertainty, no words will save you. But if your voice carries certainty, even the simplest phrase can make her stop, listen, and remember you. Most men think listening is enough. They nod along, say yeah a few times, maybe repeat her last sentence, and believe that's what makes a woman feel connected. But there's a huge difference between hearing her words and making her feel understood. Hearing is passive, understanding is active. It's about going deeper than the surface of her sentences and connecting with the emotions underneath. When you can speak in a way that makes her feel like you see her, not just hear her, you create a bond that's hard for her to forget. When she's telling you about her day, she's not always looking for solutions. Sometimes she's looking for recognition. If she says work was exhausting today and you respond with, well, maybe you should just take a day off, you've missed the point. But if you say, sounds like they really drained you today, no wonder you're feeling this way, you're showing her that you picked up on her emotion, not just her words. That kind of response tells her you're tuned in, that you actually get her. The power of making her feel understood is that it makes her drop her guard. A woman will only truly open up when she feels safe, and safety doesn't come from you agreeing with everything she says. It comes from you showing that you're paying attention to what's going on beneath the surface. When you reflect her feelings back to her in your own words, it's like you're holding up a mirror that says, I see you, I get you, and I'm not judging you. This doesn't mean you have to be overly emotional or dramatic in your responses. In fact, the most powerful moments of connection often come from simple, grounded statements. It's the difference between, yeah, I hear you, and that must have been tough for you. One is a throwaway line, the other creates an emotional bridge. And once that bridge is built, she'll feel drawn to cross it again and again. Making her feel understood also requires presence. You can't fake it by half listening while scrolling your phone or thinking about what you're going to say next. When she talks, be there, really be there. Look at her, listen without interrupting, and let her finish before you respond. Then, when you speak, make it about her experience, not about rushing to share yours. The moment she feels like you're competing for attention or turning the focus back to yourself, the connection weakens. What's interesting is that when you develop this skill, it doesn't just make her feel more connected, it makes your words more powerful. Because when she believes you understand her, she also believes you when you speak about anything else. Your words carry more weight, not because they're your speech. When you describe something in a way that engages her senses and imagination, you pull her into your world. She's not just hearing you, she's seeing it, feeling it, even smelling it. And when a woman can mentally step into the scenes you create, she forms an emotional connection to you without even realizing it. Most men keep their conversations flat. They talk in facts and summaries. I went to the beach. I had a great dinner. The concert was fun. There's nothing wrong with these statements, but they don't invite her into the experience. Compare that to saying, I walked down to the water just as the sun was melting into the ocean, the waves catching that deep gold light. It looked like something out of a movie. Suddenly, she's not just hearing where you went, she's standing there with you in her mind. This skill works in both lighthearted and deep moments. If you're sharing your goals, don't just say, I want to start my own business. Tell her, I could see it already, my own place, a team I trust, the kind of work that makes me jump out of bed in the morning. Now, you're not only telling her what you want, you're letting her feel the energy and passion behind it. People, and especially women, respond to emotion far more than to plain information. Painting pictures with your words also shows creativity and confidence. It tells her you're comfortable expressing yourself and that you're not afraid to speak in a way that stands out. It makes your conversations memorable because most men won't go beyond basic dry exchanges. When you give her a vivid scene, she's more likely to think about it later and by extension, think about you. The key is balance. You don't need to turn every sentence into a poetic monologue that would feel forced. Instead, sprinkle in vivid details where it matters most. If you're telling a funny story, bring it to life with the colors, the sounds, the exact words someone said. If you're sharing a dream, let her feel the emotions you feel when you picture it. If you're talking about a past experience, focus on the moments that made it special, not just the timeline. When you speak in this way, you're doing more than just entertaining her, you're building a shared mental world. Even if she wasn't there for the moment you're describing, she can now feel like she was. And the more she can see herself in your stories, the easier it is for her to see herself in your life. That's where attraction deepens, when your words are no longer just conversation, but an experience she doesn't want to end. In the end, it's not about being a poet or a storyteller for the sake of impressing her. It's about letting your personality, your vision, and your experiences come alive through your words. Because when she can see it, she can feel it. And when she can feel it, she'll never forget it. Too many men sabotage themselves by speaking from a place of trying to please rather than from a place of truth. They filter every word through the question, will she like this or will she approve of me if I say this? And the problem with that is simple. The moment you start shaping your words to win her approval, you lose the very thing that makes you attractive, your authenticity. A woman can feel when you're speaking just to get a reaction out of her. She can sense when you're bending yourself into the version you think she wants. And deep down, it doesn't make her respect you, it makes her see you as replaceable. Speaking from purpose means your words come from your core values, your beliefs, and your genuine perspective, not from the need to impress. It means you're willing to express yourself honestly, even if it's not the perfect thing to say. You're not trying to create some flawless image of yourself. You're showing up as you are, grounded and confident in the fact that the right people will connect with it and the wrong ones will filter themselves out. That level of certainty is rare, and that's exactly why it stands out. When you speak from purpose, you stop overthinking. You don't rehearse every sentence in your mind before it comes out of your mouth. You trust yourself enough to say what you feel in the moment, knowing you can stand behind it later. That doesn't mean being reckless or rude. It means being direct and genuine. If you admire something about her, you say it without hesitation. If you disagree with something, you express it calmly without fear. If you have a vision for your life, you share it with conviction, whether or not she reacts the way you hope. The beauty of this is that it creates a dynamic of equality. You're not putting her on a pedestal, trying to earn her validation. You're showing her that you value your own truth as much as you value her presence. This is the energy of a man who chooses rather than a man who waits to be chosen. And women respond to that because it feels like strength, not the loud, arrogant kind, but the quiet kind that doesn't need to prove itself. Contrast this with the man who's always adjusting himself to fit her moods. If she seems serious, he gets serious. If she likes a certain opinion, suddenly it's his opinion too. If she hints that she's into a particular type of guy, he starts shaping himself into that mold. At first, she might enjoy the attention, but over time, she realizes there's nothing solid to hold on to, no core identity, no boundaries, no sense of self. And without those, attraction fades. Speaking from purpose also makes your compliments, your promises, and your intentions mean more because she knows you don't say things just to say them. If you tell her she inspires you, she'll feel it's real. If you tell her you see something special in her, she'll believe it. not because the words are fancy, but because they're backed by sincerity. At the end of the day, women are not looking for a man who agrees with everything they say. They're looking for a man who respects himself enough to speak his mind with confidence. And when you do that, you're no longer competing for her attention. She's leaning in to hear what you'll say next. One of the most powerful ways to make your words irresistible is to communicate that your time, your attention, and your presence are valuable. This doesn't mean acting cold or distant, and it doesn't mean playing childish games. It's about carrying yourself in a way that shows you have a full, meaningful life and that you're selective about who gets access to it. When you do this, you create a natural sense of scarcity, and scarcity is one of the strongest forces in attraction. The reality is, people value what gauge in your passions, your work, your fitness, your friends, and your goals. Your time becomes naturally limited. You're not unavailable because you're trying to make her chase. You're unavailable because you're living. And that kind of presence, when you do show up, feels so much more meaningful. The key is subtlety. You don't announce that you're busy or try to make her feel like she's low on your list. That only creates resentment. Instead, you let it be felt through your actions. You might not answer right away because you're in the middle of a workout, a meeting, or an adventure with friends. When she asks what you've been up to, you share a glimpse of something exciting you're working on. She starts to see that being with you means being part of something that's already moving, already thriving. Scarcity also applies to your words. If you talk constantly, over explain, and fill every silence with chatter, you dilute the impact of what you say. But if you choose your words with intention, if you speak when you have something meaningful to say, those words carry more weight. She'll pay attention because she knows you don't waste your breath on things that don't matter. This is why men who live with purpose are naturally more attractive. Their time isn't just scarce, it's high value. And women don't just want time, they want valuable time, the kind that feels different because it's shared with someone who's going somewhere in life. If she knows that you could be doing a dozen other things, but you've chosen to be there with her in that moment, it elevates the entire experience. When you embody this, you never have to say, I'm a high value man. She feels it in the way you move, the way you prioritize, and the way you live. She'll lean in, not because you forced her to, but because she realizes that your presence is something rare and rare things are worth holding on to. The way you end a conversation often leaves a bigger impact than anything you said in the middle. Most men don't realize this. They trail off with something forgettable like, all right, talk later, or oh, okay, bye. There's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't make her feel anything. If you want your words to stay with her long after you've walked away, you have to leave her with something that carries emotional weight, something that makes her think about you hours later, maybe even smile when she's alone. An ending with impact is not about dramatic declarations or over the top lines. In fact, it's the opposite. The most powerful endings are often simple, but they're intentional. It might be a playful comment that makes her laugh and replay it in her mind. It could be a heartfelt statement that shows you notice something unique about her. Or it could be a short, confident line that leaves her curious for the next time you talk. Why is this so effective? Because the human brain remembers emotional peaks and the final moments of an experience more than anything else. If you can make the last few seconds of your interaction hit an emotional note, whether that's warmth, intrigue, or excitement, you stand out in her memory. She might not recall every detail of your conversation, but she'll remember how you left her feeling, and that feeling will make her want to see you again. To do this well, you need to be present during the conversation so you can pick up on moments to build on. If she told you about a big goal, you could end by saying, I can already see you crushing that. If you shared a laugh, you could leave her with a playful challenge related to the joke. If you had a deep talk, you might say, I'm going to be thinking about what you said all day. These aren't just throwaway lines, they're little hooks that keep you in her thoughts. Another way to create emotional impact is to combine your words with timing. Don't drag the goodbye out so long that the energy fades. Instead, end on a high note. If the conversation is fun, step away while it's still fun. If it's deep, leave before it turns heavy. This way, you lock in the best emotional state and attach it to you. It's also important to let your tone match your message. A line meant to spark curiosity should be delivered with a slight smile, maybe even a pause before you walk away. A line meant to feel warm and sincere should be steady, with direct eye contact. Delivery is what transforms a sentence from something ordinary into something unforgettable. Over time, when you consistently leave your interactions with impacts, she'll start to associate you with those lingering feelings. She'll catch herself thinking about what you said while she's driving, working, or lying in bed. That's the power of an intentional ending. It plants you in her mind without you having to force anything. When you learn to do this, you stop being just another conversation in her day. You become the one she remembers, the one she talks about, the one she looks forward to hearing from again. And that's how you make sure your words keep working for you long after you stop speaking.